Hey, my name is Dr. TK, and welcome to the Abundant Creator Podcast. On this podcast show, we will uncover prosperous tools to help you become the CEO of your business and your life. I am a mom and wife who merged my knowledge as a clinical psychologist and professor for over 20 years into building a multi-six-figure mental health business and seven-figure digital product business serving others and doing what I love. Now, I believe that you can make a wildly abundant living unapologetically while also dreaming big, enjoying life, and making a huge impact. So if you are ready to achieve your biggest goals, then you are in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, great day, y'all, and welcome back to the podcast and officially happy Mental Health Awareness Month 2024. And so I have something special laid out for you all, including being on the video podcast on YouTube, where we are interviewing a list of mental health providers that come from, I'm going to say, different walks of life. They have different streams of income. And the theme is on the evolution of therapists in business. And so I invited the first guest because I actually was connected with her through a mastermind program about 4 to 5 years ago, and we have been connected ever since. She is a licensed mental health provider in New York, and her name is Sonya. So to give you a little bit of background about Miss Sonya, she is a highly sought after expert in the mental health wellness field. She has been called upon by such organizations as the New York City Department of Education, PAPA, which is a program embedded for the New York Police Department, specifically catering to the mental health needs of the police officers, Fortune Society, the New York City Department of Homeless Services, and Noble, Noble. By combining her passions as a licensed mental health counselor, health and life coach, and dance fitness instructor, Sonya provides cutting-edge education on holistic practices for stress reduction and mental health. Her training includes numerous certifications, including Integrative Medicine and Nutrition for mental health and functional psychiatry. Sonya's expertise has been featured on various organizational platforms and appearances such as the Syndicated, Hot 97 Street Soldiers, 94.7 FM, The Block radio stations, News 12, The Source 360, and she was featured on Forbes. So she is also a contributing mental health expert for The Source and a clinician with the New York Police Department PAPA program. She has a private practice in New York City. So let's go ahead and dive into this interview. Hey, great day, everyone, and welcome back to the live stream podcast. First, I want to say happy Mental Health Awareness Month. It is officially May 1st, 2024, and I am super excited for what we have coming down the pipeline today. And so these live streams will be featured on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, in our therapist communities, and on the podcast. And so no matter where you're tuning in, make sure that you share some love and make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. And so today we have a special guest to kick off Mental Health Awareness Month. We have one of my great friends, someone that I actually met in first the business space. And then one thing that I love about being part of business groups and masterminds is finding other like-minded individuals, especially those who are therapists who want to grow and expand their business. And so the series of May is the evolution of therapists in business. And some of the things that we're going to be talking about starting today is how do therapists get into the business space and what that transition has been like for them, because everybody's experience is different. Then we'll talk about what is business like now, because as we know, the last 4 years have been a roller coaster for not just therapy clients, but also our economy. And then we'll talk about what's coming down the pipeline for mental health therapists in business. And so I want to welcome to the stage, to the stream, my good friend, Sonya. Hey, Sonya.
Hi. Hey. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And so she is from New York, y'all. So I know we have 50% of my community is from the East Coast. And as she knows, I love coming to New York.
Oh, and you love New York.
Yeah, we connected in about 0.25 days or something. And so can you do the grace for our audience and let them know licensure type and a little bit about your mental health credentials and things like that?
Okay. I am LMHC stands for Licensed Mental Health Counselor. So I am licensed in New York State as a mental health professional. And I also have a lot of continuing education in integrative and holistic practices for mental health and functional psychiatry, just to kind of expand my treatment plans and options to people.
Okay, we don't have to talk about that. I always learn something new. Even if I talk to somebody offline, I'm like, wait, what? Like, we need to go back there. All right. So let's apply what is it? The pre, the during, and the before, during, after of mental health and business. And so everybody chooses the mental health field for a variety of reasons. And then people choose to go into business for their own reasons. And so if you could take us back, because we never had you on the podcast before, what made you go into the actual mental health field?
Well, I actually was looking at, this was probably like about 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. I was looking at life coaching. I always worked in healthcare. So I was primarily working in healthcare in terms of healthcare administration. I worked for a great hospital, worked in different sectors of healthcare. Right out of college, I worked at a lab, GlaxoSmithKline. I worked there for a number of years and was trying to figure out, I knew I always wanted to stay in healthcare, but I wasn't quite sure in what capacity. And then fast forward years later, I just was kind of frustrated because I hadn't found exactly what I wanted to do. And so I started looking into life coaching because that was something that just came very natural to me. And so I would talk to a lot of people because they just seemed like they were in really dark spaces. And so I found myself at work doing a lot of that. And I realized I needed to find some way where I could help people really process and deal with a lot of stuff. So I was first looked at life coaching. And the more I learned about it, I said, okay, this is great, but I really want to be able to go deeper with people. And so that's where I learned that although life coaching is wonderful, because I am actually a life coach as well and a health coach, but they can't go very deep in the healing process. They always say when a person is dealing with this, you have to refer them to a therapist. So I started to look into therapy because that would give me the skill set to really help people in the healing process. And so that was the reason why I really chose therapy, because it just seems like a natural fit for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think on the interviews, this is the first time that I've heard the perspective of shifting from one similar industry over to mental health. And so that's, and again, on our YouTube page, on our channel, we get a lot of questions about career paths. And so I think that even for, honestly, undergrads, people who are choosing to go into grad school, but not really knowing what direction to go, because that's the bigger question, like what degree to choose. And say, start with the end goal in mind, reverse engineer it. And if you can find something that's more expansive, then you can pick and choose your specialty as you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I know that so first of all, people who are watching, we have all these different credentials behind our name, meaning letters.
Right.
And sometimes the East Coast and the West Coast, the title is the same, but the letters are different. So can you explain to our audience how you went about the LMHC and what that means? Because that's going to come up more so for our grad students.
Most students, in most states, you'll see LPC, which is licensed professional counselor. So it's the same. It's the same thing in New York, in other states. It's the same thing. Our curriculum is very heavy in mental health, whereas a social worker, they have other options in terms of, they can do a lot more admin or, going into working in nonprofits. There's a lot of other options that they have, unless they want to be a clinician, then they spend more time in training. I think it's an additional 3 years. Wow. And then they can become a licensed LCSW. So, but for the LMHC curriculum, it is only mental health focused.
Wow. Okay. So let's skip to the greatness, right? Let's go into, how did you choose private practice? Because I know, like, most people that follow me know my story in terms of me working for more of a larger agency. But I always knew, even starting grad school, just being exposed to, honestly, the right professors, because you have to know who you should and should not talk to. Because some people were like, never going to private practice, or I'm just starting 30 years later. And I'm like, I don't want to be like you. And so I found those 2 to 3 professors and some upperclassmen that were doing internship in private practice. And I just saw it as being so flexible with the Barbie lifestyle that I always had in my head, per se. And so what made you choose the path of private practice, and also go into like, what was it like in the beginning phases?
Well, a couple of things. One of the things that you said, it is important the professions that you listen to, because I remember when I was in grad school, and again, like I said, I did this a little later in life. It was my second career, so to speak. I remember going back to grad school and one of my professors saying, she said, well, we're not in this job to, we're not choosing this career to make money. And I raised my hand. I said, oh, no. I said, no, I'm not choosing no career not to make money. And everybody just looked at me. I said, no. I love this. I love this with my whole heart, mental health. I love what I do. But there's a price tag that I plan on making, because there's a lifestyle I want. So and everybody just looked at me, and I was like, you guys can be unapologetic about it. I mean, you could be apologetic about it, but I'm not. So that's why I love what you do, because you teach people how they can do the career that they love, but at the same time, create an income to live a life that you want. Private practice had a number of reasons for it. For one, the freedom, absolutely the freedom. But I also wanted freedom in terms of the way I treat clients, because I don't believe I promote mental wellness. So I don't believe in a 3 symptoms. I call it 3 symptoms and a pill approach to mental health. I don't. There are too many people I've worked with a lot of other issues that you have to look at, including their health, to get an accurate diagnosis, treatments, all of that, or even referral, knowing who to refer them to, which I really appreciate my background in healthcare, who else to collaborate with, what type of doctors you need to do. And I needed to be able to do that. And in what I'm seeing in some places, larger organizations, is very rigid. Is if either they have these symptoms and you give them medication and that's it. And I'm like, no, there's a whole lot of other things. So I knew private practice was going to give me that treatment freedom to stay within my scope, stay, of course, within the legal, legal realm of how to treat, but more to educate my clients on a wellness approach to their mental health.
Looks like people are loving that that statement. And it actually gave me like a memory, which right before we went live, we were talking about just like how therapists approach mental health business, because it is a whole new brand. It's a brand new thing. And as you were talking, I was visualizing working in the juvenile facilities and then transitioning out, working with the kids when they came home. And I remember I had the same mindset where I looked at things from more of a holistic perspective. And to a degree, they would teach you how to do the biopsychosocial model intake. And I believe that, at least for myself, I went above and beyond just wanting to know the full person and all aspects of themselves, which reminds me of the life wheel, right? Like, look at yourself and how you're progressing. And I find it interesting because when you start to, though, in those job settings, veer off, and you don't go based on the fidelity of the model with the evidence-based practice, y'all know all these EBP like terminology, right? Then I would get caught in the office and they would say, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I did your checklist, but this also came up. So it would baffle only one of my supervisors understood, and maybe because she was a person of color, so she knew what these kids were going through. And I'm like, I'm going to take them to get their California ID. I'm going to sit in the doctor's office if they need me to while they go get their physical, because they ain't got nobody else to do it. Right. And she like, but that's not mental health. I said, oh, but it is. I said, you have no idea what kind of conversations we're having when those kids are in my car. We're doing therapy. You feel me? I said, and I'm like, if y'all don't want to build this, then I can do my progress notes while I'm sitting in the lobby. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just interesting that you say that, because I don't know how many therapists have realized that they've been conditioned to think the opposite.
Absolutely. That is exactly how they've been conditioned. And I speak to all people from psychiatric nurse practitioners, and they don't understand the conditioning that this, that the system is doing. And for so many people, it's failing them, regardless of your race. It is failing them. And we're not, and I always say mental health is taught this way, but it has to be this way. It has to be broader. We have to look at so many other elements. And I worked at an agency before I went into private practice, a nonprofit, and it was the same thing. They meant well, but it was very rigid and narrow. And just like you, I was always outside of the office. I was going places and going to different programs to see, okay, I can refer them here. And I would actually visit places. I would visit locations, because again, looking at the person's entire life is what was important.
Yeah, linkage is key. And it's interesting because I know that all degrees have different backgrounds. And I know for myself, I didn't even learn as a clinical 2B psychologist, I didn't learn how to truly do, I'm gonna say, linkage and case management until I started working with the homeless. And then that's when I realized the importance of old school Maslow's hierarchy. Like if these people don't have anywhere to sleep at night, excuse my language, they don't give a damn about like mental health because they have nothing to eat. They have nowhere to sleep. And even if they do, it's a shelter for a woman. So it's unsafe with their children. And it's so many different things. And I'm just like, why didn't they pound this in our head? Why, for psychologists, why did not we have a class that taught us about case management? But maybe they assumed that our internship sites would teach us, and some of them did, but some of them weren't meant to teach us because it was just a clinic. You do everything in-house. You don't link outside.
Exactly. Right? And I worked part-time. I've been involved with the shelter system in New York for close to 20 years. So I did volunteer work initially, again, because I just loved it. And then I went into working per diem for them. And one of the things, to your point, in our mental health shelters, just shelters in general, but particularly mental health shelters, there are no therapists on staff.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh my gosh.
Not one. I used to have a meltdown because I could not understand that. Psychiatrists, yes, that'll come in and see you for 15 minutes and manage your medication. Absolutely. You got one of those. But in terms of budgeting for and I knew all of this stuff was going to spill over during COVID or whatever with the population, because this has been years I've been seeing it. So like I said, close to 20 years. And I would always say, there's no therapist here. Y'all don't have a therapist. You don't hire a therapist. Oh, we send them to the clinic. No, do you have someone in-house? Because some of these people aren't going to get on the bus to go across town to the clinic that you have an affiliation for. Do you have someone? And I did groups. I used to have I did groups for men's shelters up until COVID, and then women's shelters for years, because I kept saying, why do they not have anything to help these people heal and learn how to do life? And still isn't. A lot of them still isn't.
Well, yeah, somebody in the comment box that said community mental health has not changed. It's still very boxed in. So yeah, we definitely know that. So I know that, so to give people some backstory, Sonya and I had met in connection with a mastermind that we were a part of for a couple of years. Some of y'all are familiar with her. I talk about her all the time, Dr. Stacia in Florida. But before 2020, we would meet in person. And I think we met the year before the situation, Yeah,
we did.
Yeah. But we stayed in contact. She actually came and we went to New York for our mastermind students for therapists in our program. So she came and spoke to them. And that's what pricked my soul to say, hey, let's bring her on for everybody, because not everybody got a chance to hear her speak. And I know those therapists were very just amazed at the wide variety of things that mental health providers can do that you're overlooking. So can you talk about the different types of work? I know you spoke about health and wellness, so go into that. I know you work with the police department or the police officers. Can you talk to the therapist about the different avenues in your private practice?
Sure. Yeah, there's so many avenues that we don't even think about. So you just mentioned NYPD. So NYPD has a program called PAPA, which is Police Officers Providing Peer Assistance. And they created that program over 20 years ago because of the suicide rate with law enforcement in New York. And so that program, they train peer officers and they peer them with mental health professionals that they screen, and they screen, and we work together to provide emotional support for NYPD officers, active, retired, and their families. And so with that, there's a lot that we do. If there's, for example, a crime incident, an officer is involved in anything, and they have a debriefing in their office, they always have to have a therapist and a trained peer officer there to basically check in on the officer, see how they're doing, ask them lots of questions, and just to make sure that they're okay and make necessary referrals. As the clinician, we're supposed to be there watching just to look for any indications that an additional referral might be necessary. And so we can have, again, an officer maybe that was a part of a shooting, got hurt, and they'll call, we get to come in and to help with that and provide therapy. So I'm part of the roster that they have of chosen clinicians. And so if the officer wants therapy, they can just go through what they call the PAPA clinicians, who already, you know, they've screened us. They know that we have their best intentions for law enforcement. And I have officers now that are clients of mine. And so, you know, so that's one of the avenues. Some of the, again, so whatever state they're in, you could check to see if their police departments have any type of programs either similar to that, or even if they just want to partner with clinicians, because law enforcement is finally starting to understand the importance for mental health and to take away that stigma. So there are definitely opportunities in that. Now, the shelter system, like I said, I've been involved with them for, initially started out 20 years ago as on a volunteer basis, but I loved it so much. And so I created a program earlier, and which I did first on a volunteer basis. But, you know, like I said,
I mean, but that's sometimes where we have to start. And I hope that the therapists are hearing that, because then they say, well, she said get paid, but sometimes you got to get your foot in the door.
You got to start. Yes. I did it for years. I did it for like 7 years. I volunteered because, again, it was just something I was passionate about, bringing in all kinds of the network, my resources, friends that went and bringing services and products and everything in. And then I was able to get contracts. So I was working, I would provide, once I left the agency and started my private practice, in my agency, I worked a lot with men, like 95% of my clients were males. And that's because it was an anger management program and I did the counseling for it. But I wanted to continue that. So I got contracts with a few of the mental health, the shelters, 3 men's shelters in Brooklyn. It's because one of the director referred me. And so they like what I did. And so I was working with 3 men's shelters doing groups. And so that was, that's another avenue. I also do events now, partnered with an organization, and we do wellness events. So, oh my God, again, this last one was so much fun. We had a glamping retreat. And
I see that and I'm like, I want to go.
It was so much fun. We're having it next year. I'll let you know. It was so much fun because there were workshops. There were, the glamping site was absolutely gorgeous. And so we had all kinds of, the person I partnered with did yoga. I did a dance fitness routine. We had, like I said, workshops. And so it was I was working. Yeah. I was working, enjoying it, and getting paid at the same time. And
work-life integration.
That's right. It was work-life integration. Absolutely. And then schools, I'm a vendor with the Board of Ed here. So you can do workshops with schools, because schools are partnering a lot. Schools really need therapists now, to whether it's doing workshops or in whatever capacity that they're willing to pay. The school system is amazing to partner with because they really need that assistance. I mean, then you could partner with juvenile system. It's so many opportunities for therapists now. It's so many. Oh, also I've written for the Source magazine as partnered, and also I did during the pandemic. We did put together a live workout with one of the fitness personalities, Lita Lewis. We did a live workout because people were struggling. They were at home. And so we did a live workout. And so then I forgot what the
let's talk about all the wins. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't forget about that.
It's amazing how when you like, oh wait.
There's so many, because as you said, there's so many opportunities therapists don't think about, but even the Source has something every year, a major conference every year called Source 360. And so one year I proposed to them about having a wellness panel. And so they allowed me to put the whole thing together. And so I was able to pull in, health coaches, doctors, and they actually brought in a well-known rapper, and we did a panel on mental health, mental wellness.
That is so good.
Yeah, so that's
so good. That is so good.
And
as I'm listening to you, I'm gonna we talk to our clients a lot. And when I say clients, y'all, I'm talking about therapists, coaching clients. And I could see them like, oh my gosh, this is so fire. I want to do all this. However, what do you believe is the mindset, or what is it internally that you may have that pushes you to actually go and execute all of that? Because some of these things could be built off of you going to find the resources. It could be somebody referring you, meaning relationship capital. But at the end of the day, you do have to go implement and get it done. And so can you talk about that? Because, a lot of our therapists are overthinking themselves, and then they become paralyzed to then go and do the thing to get the outcome that you've experienced.
Well, I'm going to tie in what you do to let them know just how important it is. Because like you said, we met with our coach. And it's funny because told me about you and you about me. And they were trying so hard. They said, you guys got to meet. You ladies got to meet. Oh my gosh. And so it was like, as soon as we met, we hit it off right away. But tying in what you do, the more I was able to niche down my brand and understand what I wanted to, what area in mental health I wanted to focus on, and then have the strength behind it. Like I said, having a brand, understanding what that needs to look like, helping to find the people that I need to attract. All that business information was vital, because then you have more confidence when you're going out into approaching, whether it's organizations or magazines or wherever it is, whoever you want to approach to work with or collaborate. You have a lot more confidence because you understand, this is what I want to do. This is what it looks like. I have a coach who's helped me through the business part of it. The confidence, yes, I did some of the volunteer stuff, like I said, years before, because that was just what my heart was. But there was a lot of confusion in terms of how do I really turn this into what I wanted to look like, and to help me understand what do I really want my practice to look like. And I can't say I would have been able to do it without my coach. I just could not have, not to the capacity that I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, you speak to so many important points, because I think that nowadays, I mean, these are the conversations that are more so happening behind the scenes. And it is unfortunate. I mean, it's fortunate and it's unfortunate. So the fortunate part is, due to the circumstances that happened 4 years ago, a lot of businesses either opened and or put their business, like therapists, even online, where we would say things like, I don't know if I want to go back to the office, for a long period of time. But the unfortunate part about it is, again, it causes a lot of paralyzation, because now people, even not therapists, like all entrepreneurs, are looking at it more as a saturated market. But then also the customers or the clients are looking at the word coaching as a lack of trust. And I've been doing like a lot of research on what's been happening in the industry, because I like to always be up to date with what's going to impact my business as a coach, beyond being a psychologist. And one of the commonalities that's happening right now in 2024 is that, even in 4 years ago, you had to have a lot of touch points, meaning you get in front of a customer or a client and they have to fall in love with your brand or what you do and how you solve their problem. Well, now it's to the point where people are walking into situations automatically believing that they're going to get burned. And I hear it from the creator side, but I think it's very much so spilling over to the mental health side. Because one, finding a therapist, to be real, especially one of color, is like a needle in a haystack. And it's not a lot of us.
No, 4%.
Yeah, it's not a lot of us at all. However, the ones that are there, either they're in a shell because you don't want to market, you're scared, or they're full. Congratulations. But of course, as a coach, I'm like, are all those people your ideal clients? If not, release them to the people they're supposed to be working with. But the other thing I wanted to point out is the key about the niche and the brand. I don't know if people had caught on to this. Some people, when they hear brand or niche linked to marketing, they automatically think it's a diagnosis, it's an age group. And one of the things that you said but didn't say is that you figured out what you do well in terms of how you show up and do therapy, and how you pull in the holistic, the health and wellness, and all these things. And then you go and pitch that to everybody and their mama. Absolutely. So I don't want therapists to like pigeonhole themselves and say, I can only work in schools because I only work with teachers. No, teachers have different hats, So anything else you wanted to add in terms of, because I know you've had conversations with therapists as well, but anything you wanted to add to maybe motivate therapists who are stuck in their business that want to catapult their growth? Like, what would you share?
Yeah, I think for me, I tell clients, I believe creating a career from the inside out, meaning from the heart. That was for me. And, meaning take the time, and I did this before I went back to school to be a therapist, really take the time to figure out, as a therapist, what do I really want to do? Like, what population do I really, and what do I want to do, and how do I want to do it? So take that time to really be honest with yourself and allow yourself to just what if. Because, so for example, I know there's certain things that personally make me feel good that I have realized it when I did that private time that I've done forever, and it makes me feel good. So fitness is one of the things that just literally makes me feel good. So when I started years ago doing the research between the correlation of mental health and physical exercise, I was blown away at the amount of information and the years of research, decades of research that supports that. So I was like, okay, good, because that makes sense why I feel good. I love doing it anyway. So let me make sure I add this to what I, so it's what I like to do. It benefits my clients are always, you know, it makes it so much easier when I talk to them about fitness because they see me on Instagram or we talk about it. So, you know, and then one of my clients was like, I know you've been telling me for years to get a trainer. Oh my God, I got one. I feel so amazing. I was like, okay, as long as you got one, because I'm always on there with mine. But so, and all other things, like I like the wellness things that I'm doing. I love that kind of stuff. So again, I started research. I said, well, you know what, this benefits mental health. Trends, like you said, I looked at, okay, these are the trends now. People are doing more wellness vacations or wellness activities. Okay, good. So now, and then I was able to meet someone and we partnered and we're doing those things. These are things that I personally like to do. That's why this doesn't seem like work to me.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, if you really find a part, and mental health, again, the field is so wide. So take your time and ask your why. Why do you want to do it? And in what capacity you want to do it. Everything that I do it because I absolutely love doing it. When I'm doing groups with shelters, I love working with them. I get to do that. I get to get paid, and it you know feels both of those. But I think most people see, like you said, they see it very narrow. Oh, I have to work here, or I have to work for an agency. I have to work for this one. You can work for them for a little bit of time, but I was always strategizing. When I was at work, I was like, okay,
listen,
y'all don't fall in love with me because I'm not going to be here forever. I had planned on moving out. I knew eventually I was going to branch off and do some things, but I had to also figure out what that was going to look like.
Yeah, I'm glad that you touched on the health and wellness because as you were talking, I literally visualized, you shared this with our mastermind students, but I had visualized you with your trainer. And I'm like, you know, I feel good because I just worked out too. You know what I'm saying? We in two different time zones, but I'm like, man, somebody watching her page and feel like, you need to get out the bed. Like, what are you doing? Can you, because I think that health and wellness is so important for mental health providers. Can you walk our audience through what is your morning routine? Like when you say you have a trainer, what time are you waking up in the morning? What's your day like?
Well, I work out actually at the gym, but then I also see him once a week. So that I wake up at 4 because I'm meeting him 4-ish, 4:15. I get there between 4, and it doesn't take us about a 20-minute drive. And I've been with him for a long time. And so, yeah, I'm up around that at 4-ish, and then I'm in the car. Yeah. But actually, I know I'm going to feel good when I'm done. So that's what keeps me going. So I get there. Actually, the day that I see him is the day that I don't see clients. But the other days, So the other days I'm up too. I'm at the gym usually around 5-ish, but that's right across the street. So that's much easier. And then come back, I get me my breakfast, and I'm able to ease into my day, but I feel so charged after I've had a workout. I feel incredible. And, again, it's relaxing music going on. I'm listening to something inspirational. Then between 8 and 9, right before my first client, I usually have something educational playing. So I'm up early, like I said, with the workout. I have my meditation and prayer time. And then I go into listening to some inspirational workout. And then that last hour is something educational. And then I start the day.
That's dope. That's dope. Because we've shared our morning routines like in a variety of different ways through the podcast. And I'm always curious to see what other people are doing. But one of the things that I just want to hype up, and somebody had put it in the chat, is like you show up as your authentic self and you allow that to spill over into your business. And to me, that's where I'm not going to say there's no anxiety in running a business, y'all, but you will have a lower probability of having anxiety linked to business. You can have anxiety in other areas, when you release. And for myself, I tried to do the whole workout at night. I used to do the health support coaching, and my body, the way it's dopamine and serotonin is rolling through my body, I get exercise that makes me hyped up. It gets me more clear. So it's almost like starting my morning, but at night.
Right.
And so I would just caution therapists, actually just all people that are watching this or listening to it, is pay attention to what else you have during the day. Because as you had mentioned, it's vitally important to know how to, I'm gonna call it habit stacking. If you get exhausted after a workout, you may want to go talk to a nutritionist, but you also might not want to be a therapy client.
Right. You and like you're absolutely you have to see how you're gonna feel, because even before like this train, I had him. We started working together over 10 years ago, and but more than that. But anyway, I remember I was working at the agency, and he used to have a 6 a.m. boot camp, and so I would go to the boot camp and then go to work, and I would come to work so charged, and my coworker would say, "You've been to boot camp this morning?" I was like, "Yes." He was like, "Oh God," because I would just be on fire. So I know for me, that's what I need. It also helps me stay focused, because I can have a tendency to be all over the place. So exercise is great for your attention. And so that is why I know early morning works for me. It's not for everybody, and that's fine. You have to find it. There is a class I take once in a while in the evening, but for the most part, early in the morning is what works for me. And I know, like I said, it's going to keep me focused when I have my clients at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I'm right here because I've started the morning out in a way that I need to, and I take my supplements.
Yeah, vitamins key, right? So let's man, you gave so many bonuses. So we've talked about starting a mental health career as a second career. We've talked about how you can love what you do and have that spill over into multiple parts in your business. And then, of course, we've dropped a lot of gems around nutrition, health, and then also just how you show up in business. I do want to add one more question in terms of, like, again, we have a variety of people listening. And what other possibilities are there outside of therapy for mental health providers? Because that is like a tunnel vision mindset a lot of times, because, I went to school all these years to do therapy. So either therapists, including myself, have ran on a guilt trip. Like, if I go over to all these other things, I'm neglecting what I went to school for. I don't waste my money. And that's not true. So what other areas have you dibbled and dabbled in outside of actual therapy services in business?
Well, I'm actually dabbling in in coach, because I'm also a health coach. So I'm going to finally launch this program on health coaching for stress reduction, because there's so many people don't understand. Like, there are very specific things when your body's burnt out. There's very specific things that you need to do to get you back on track. And so that is something that I'm extremely, passionate about. And yes, I'm not going to necessarily be acting as a therapist in that room. I'm just going to be a health coach who happens to be a therapist. And so, because that's very, very important. So for me, like I said, that is another area that's very important to me. That's where I could have said, "Oh, why did I go to school for this?" But no, it's just another avenue. And like you said, once you get the traction, you start to see other opportunities, and you feel a lot more confident exploring them. You can writing, you can write for magazines, you can do, that kind of thing, write articles. It's just so many other avenues. Partnering with healthcare professionals, if that's what you want to do, partnering with doctors, because there's still a lot of doctors that are not referring people to therapists. And so you can partner in that regard. But the sky really is the limit. It's just really on the way that you look at it.
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna give somebody hopefully listening to this is about to take this and run with it. I'm just gonna pose it to the audience. Can you go link yourself up with other medical providers or schools or agencies, and for just referral purposes, not trying to get no contract unless they want to give it to you, you're literally going in there to do a lunch and learn for absolutely free, which is going to perk their interest. They just got to find the time to do it. And can you do a 30 to 45-minute lunch and learn and simply use that to leverage passing out old school flyers or rack cards or something like that, business cards, not just saying go to my Instagram, because doctors ain't going to do that.
No.
And because they're going to forget, they're going to give it to their secretary, like, whatever. And so could you, like, this is to a therapist who's listening, who want to take action, build out referrals, but beyond what we teach in our program with doing a warm letter, I always say go above and beyond, and the penny is in the follow-up.
Absolutely.
You have to follow up with these audiences. So I'm glad that you said that, because I was like, they could be going out here getting some volunteer hours, because that's required.
No, that lunch and learn. Let me tell you again, yes, maybe there might be some slowdown. I don't know where, because the phone is still ringing here from like insurance and stuff, but that is an amazing idea, because people understand folks are struggling out here and they don't know what to do. Companies don't know what to do. There are people that are going out on disabilities for different reasons because of mental health. So if you could do a lunch and learn, you said, I'd like to come in, they are going to love that. And let me tell you another area, another organization that's really open to it now. Finally, churches.
Yes.
Churches
We're talking about this in our expansion program.
Yes, they are open like you would not believe, because again, they're recognizing that there are people coming in here with issues, and yes, they're praying and all these different things, but they need some additional help. And so they are very open again, and you get linked, and I'm on the list for my church of refer, and I'm like, my church is huge, so I'm like, oh y'all, please don't get my number out, because my church is huge.
Yeah,
I've gotten referrals from there though, but you can get referrals because again, there's mental health isn't going anywhere, and they need to know that you're out there. And that lunch and learn, I think is a great idea.
Yeah, like I'm gonna sip this in here, because this is something that we talk about in our, like, as you know, we have our academy program, which is for either opening from scratch or growing an existing like solo practice. But then we have an expansion program, and we started to make the announcements more so internally so far, because we're going to open up the doors. We only open it up like twice a year, so we're going to open it up again in May. But what you had talked about is something that has come up in all of our live events. And in our expansion program. And some of those therapists, some of them are pastors' wives, some of them are pastors, some of them just like myself or yourself want to get involved and help out. The one disclaimer I would just tell anyone who is wanting to tap into that, because you still have time for Mental Health Awareness Month, even to do a lunch and learn during a sermon, if your bishop is down for that. I know our bishop was down for it. Like, we're gonna carve out a day for mental health. You know,
yeah, that was a Sunday.
Or
we had a big one Sunday. Yep.
Yeah. And so talk to your leadership, talk to your youth ministry, your adult ministry. But one thing, because you mentioned the phone number, and I know your church is super big because I've seen like videos and stuff, is if you know you actually don't want to get referrals from your church, then your positioning would be to maybe work with ministry to help them understand mental health, to then refer out, but also ask, or just, I told my bishop, like, hey, I really want to get on like a little speakers or training circuit with other bishops. And at the time, I didn't really, because I was newer to the church at that time, I didn't understand the philosophy of like sister churches. I knew what they were, but I didn't know who they were connected to. But my bishops are going to all of these trainings in and out the state, in and out the country. And all of a sudden, I start getting calls from just random people. I thought, watching my Facebook lives back then. And they were like, oh no, Bishop told me about you. I already went to your website, I already downloaded your speakers kit, DTA students, you know what I'm talking about. And so they were well prepared even to pay me. So for my church, I did it for free, did 2 trainings on Black men and suicide, and then stress reduction for people in ministry. And then that led to me doing general mental health, cognitive behavioral therapy trainings at church events. You don't know where even your volunteership or even giving your 10% for those who are in financial hardship. You know, I'm about to go to church right now, but I'm saying, like, if you are in financial hardship, you can't give 10% of your time. Like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You watch Netflix. Said,
someone's watching, because like you said, and that's so important what you just said about the trainings. And you can have trainings for staff. You can have at the church, you can run maybe a series of groups that parents can pay for, because a lot of parents don't know what to, they're having issues with their children. It's so much that people don't understand about mental health. So if you want to run a series, I'm going to run a series, and this is going to be the fee. You'll be surprised the number of people that's going to sign up, because they really, it's not enough of us. So that's why I've been doing some group things, because it's like, okay, I can only spread myself with individual, but so far. So if you do some group things, and I talked to another Black psychologist, he's doing the same thing. You can still help people on a larger level and still give them information and still get paid doing it that way as well. So it's a lot of opportunity.
So many. I mean, look what we're doing right now, y'all. We're live streaming.
Right.
You can do an unlisted live stream or a Zoom call, spread it to multiple churches. Right. Maybe the church pays you, or maybe that's your first volunteership to see how it goes. But guess what? Once somebody tests the waters and they see how great you are, and then they go hopefully somewhere else and see your branding and your marketing of what you actually do, they're going to want to do it again, but maybe on a deeper level. So we've given so many coaching nuggets here. So somebody, I'm sure, can go build a business stream, but of course they need systems to be able to do that.
One more set, one more group.
Yeah.
Sororities and fraternities, because I'm in a sorority, and every year I get called to do, because they have wellness activities, and every year a different chapter will call on me, and I will go and do, during the pandemic, I did some Zoom, and then I've done, in person, and I've spoken at fraternity conference. So it's, it's a lot of opportunities. It's a lot of opportunities.
So I'm going to ask you to say this, because I know that when I was trying forever to link you with one of my clients, I'm like, I think it was 2 of them. They came to an event together, and I'm like, y'all different generations, but and then you got with one of them. And I'm like, oh, y'all need to link up, because all y'all from different chapters. And so what sorority are you a part of? Because I want people to understand how in connection you already are.
Absolutely. Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And yes. And so what happened in your mastermind, I didn't know. And then she and I started talking, because I actually bought her products. So she had an amazing.
Dr. Rochelle?
With the journal.
Yeah, Dr. Rochelle. Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that journal is amazing for kids. And so when she was talking about it, I just started talking to her afterwards. And then, I don't know, again, we ended up finding out that we were in a sorority. And then afterwards, that's when you told us that you had wanted to put us together. You wanted us to meet anyway. Yeah. So it kind of reminds me of like the pay it forward, even with our coach, because what tends to happen is a lot of our students who come into our program, they get to a point where I just say, kind of like therapy, just hit me up as needed. If I'm in town, we can go do lunch or whatnot. And it was probably about 2 to 3 years ago. I'm like, you could do a lot of mental health stuff with another therapist, or at least just see what she's doing in the community, because you work with kids and she works with adults, but you never know how you can work in sync. Y'all not that far from each other. And what I would used to do, if I would know other therapists, I'm like, the easiest way to probably get into their DM and then kind of go from there. And then you end up meeting her, because both of you spoke to our group in our mastermind in July. So that's pretty much. Yeah, no, it's a lot of those connections. And like I said, it's so much work, and not to look at it from just a monetary standpoint, but the point is it's such a need. So there's just enough for everybody to do either things, solo or collaborations. It's just so many opportunities, because people are struggling. They really are struggling. Every sector they're struggling. So you have to just, like I said, find out what matches what you want to do, really sit quietly with yourself and say, you know what, I'd like to do this, and just start doing the research, because there is a need for therapists everywhere.
Listen, we will never be without a job. I tell people in California, I'm like, all I have to do is go downtown LA and look outside. And I'm like, I will always have a job.
Oh, it's a good problem to have. Like I'm saying, it's a good problem to have. Because before I went into private practice, the shelter asked me like 3 times. They wanted to offer me a position. And finally, the director, she said, what's your price? I was like, I'm going into private practice.
All right. Choices.
Choice. And I'll partner with y'all, which is what I've done. I was like, I won't work for you, but I'll partner with you. And
that was good. Yeah, that was good. Say that again.
I won't partner for you. I won't work for you, because I need my freedom, but I will partner with you.
That's good. Good positioning, people. So where can people find you? Because I know some people probably need to find you to go to the farmer's market. Some people want to find you to work out with you and your trainer, or get a snippet of motivation.
Yeah, no. Everything is my name. My website is my name, SonyaDavie.com. My Instagram is Sonya Davie. LinkedIn, Sonya Davie. Everything is I can't kind of keep it simple. So it is my name. Just Google my name and you will find it. But yeah, I'm glad you having this, because like you said, there's so many therapists, even people I know that are recent grads, and they feel stuck before, I'm like, no, there's a lot of freedom in this where you can really do the work that you love. Like, because I've integrated so much training and into mental health nutrition, and just so many other integrated practices, and looking at in trainings with doctors. Like I'm in a lot of trainings with doctors, because once you're licensed, you have access to a lot of trainings that you think, well, I'm not a doctor, but I want to know what's, when I have the opportunity to learn what psychiatrists are learning, so we can, again, work together or have a better process to help my clients with, and I'm in them. I sign up for them. And, sometimes you may have to do a little extra studying, because some of the lingo may go over your head, but for you, believe it or not, you be able to hang as, you'll be able to hang. But yeah, all of that is very important, because it also goes back to what you said. It keeps you on the cutting edge of what's happening. Because you want to know the direction of healthcare, you want to know the direction of treatment, you want to know the variety of treatment options. Because what you don't want is your tool bag to get empty,
dusty,
right? Because in certain
dusty
things,
and empty.
yeah. Because there's times, and do I have time to give you one example?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I practice mental health nutrition and functional psychiatry. There are times when talk therapy is not enough. So, for example, it's not uncommon for me, and this just happened last week, for me to talk to clients and they're telling me they're tired, they're exhausted, and I'm looking at them and I'm doing a checkup, nothing really happened different in their life. And someone will either they'll volunteer or I'll ask, what's your vitamin D like? Vitamin D is low. Okay, have you been taking? Yeah, my doctor told me, but I just haven't. This happened last week. I just haven't. I said, I'm gonna talk about you. I just haven't been taking it. I said, no. I said, well, let me help you understand. Let me ask you, was it prioritized? Did you get the message? Was there any urgency when they told you that you needed to take it? Well, no. I said, well, let me explain to you when you have low vitamin D, what that looks like. And so I started explaining to them, and I said, so there's a time when talk therapy is going to work, and there's a time when it's not, because your body is exhausted. Your life. I had someone who has a chronic health issue, and believe it or not, they've had suicidal tendencies, and I had to help them understand, if you don't manage this, if you don't manage this chronic illness, if you don't manage blood sugars, if you don't manage this is why you're showing up cranky, irritable, and feeling hopeless, because your body is worn down. So I get blood work. I'm always telling certain clients, did you get blood? When's the last time you had blood work? And that's when I'll usually find out about the vitamin D, because I had somebody else who was tired. I said, you need blood work. I need blood. They got blood work. Sure enough, the doctor told them, this was last month, my vitamin D is low and my iron is low. I said, all right, so let me show you how low vitamin D and low iron.
Yeah, that's good.
And she just looked and she said, I told my doctor, my therapist said my vitamin D was probably low. Yeah. I said, I'm not trying to I said, I'm never trying to be a doctor. I'm not even trying to play one on TV. I said, but I will collaborate. I will definitely collaborate. And I will clients will ask me certain things and I'll say, no, talk to your doctor. No, I'm not answering that. Even if it's supplements, I'm not answering that.
Right.
This is what I'm suggesting. You talk to your doctor to get the green light on it. But if you don't have this, if you're low in iron, if you're low in vitamin D, if you're low in vitamin B12, if you're low in these things, we can sit here and talk for 2 hours. It's not going to penetrate the way that it should, because your body is worn down. So that's why I look at people's entire lifestyle. Because if you are not sleeping, you didn't go to sleep and you're working overtime. When's the last time it's like how you opened it up? You have to look at their entire life. And that's actually the trend that some are learning. It's not the doctors, it's the system. So it's not even a doctor. Okay. It's the system. But looking at people's whole life is going to be important, because we got to look at everything that you're doing or not doing. It's
interesting that you say all this, man. I'm sitting here getting flashbacks. I'm like, man, they did us dirty, because I'm sitting here visualizing. I used to work in the juvenile system, and in those facilities, I would intentionally go somewhere to go get lunch for my little 30-minute window. I would go outside and walk around, but then go in other dormitories just to say hi to other probation officers and kids that I've seen again. But when I left, I decided to get a full physical, because I knew I was going to go super hard at my private practice, but I had already had a group practice at that time. And when they ran my blood work, they said that you were low in vitamin D. And at that time, I mean, I wasn't going on a WebMD or anything like that, or we didn't have ChatGPT. So I was just like, I don't understand what this means. And they just said, oh, take this vitamin. I said, I still don't know. I don't like to put vitamins in my body unless you tell me what it's for. And I understand it. And so I was randomly talking to one of my cousins, because he was he was a vegan. So he was all up in the health stuff. And he said, oh, cousin, you probably you need some sunlight or something. And I'm like, what? And then he said, was there a recent change or something? And I'm like, I mean, I've been working in the facilities for 4.5 years, and he was like, you ain't getting enough sunlight. And I just thought it was interesting as I'm listening to you talk, because I'm also thinking about my emotions during that time, not saying that the environment was not toxic, but could I probably have held on for a little longer, or would I have had a panic attack? I'm just thinking about all the different breakdowns of my body that were impactful from my physical environment beyond what the heck they were doing with not taking care of the mental health providers itself, but it's just like such a big deal that I just hope that also therapists are starting to recognize we're not teaching you to practice out of your scope of practice. But when I tell y'all during those boot camp assessments, how many of y'all are doing CEs that are directly correlated with you getting better at your expertise and building a business? More than likely, the answer is no, unless you're mandated due to an evidence-based practice like certification. Most therapists don't do that. They just do them at the last minute, CEs for less, no shade, $74.99. And they do all the classes. But could you, if you're working with moms, should you start consulting with doulas, with OBGYNs? Like, come on, y'all, step outside the box and be great.
Absolutely. Because there's so much, hormone health is because I've taken courses in that, I've had certification in that. That is so important. And so, like I said, knowing how to refer people. And to your point, I want to say this. I spoke at, and I do that too. I speak.
You're like, oh yeah.
You have to add this on. NOBLE, which stands for National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. So this is a law enforcement nationwide for anyone Black in law enforcement. So anyway, they had their conference, regional conference, and I've spoken a few years. And so last year when I spoke, and it was on mental wellness and all these different points of looking at your whole health. One of the officers came up afterwards to speak to me, and one of them said to me, he said, "You know what? I just wanted to share with you that I was working. My office was downstairs, and I didn't have any windows." And he said, and I started feeling, I was getting very cranky and irritable and sad. He said, and my mood was just off for a while, and my wife couldn't understand what was wrong with me. He said she finally convinced me to go to the doctor, and his vitamin D was low. And I think some of his B vitamins were very, very low. And he realized, just like you said, he was not getting outside. So he said now he makes sure every single day that he goes outside to get the vitamin D, because he just didn't know. He didn't put the two together. And so, you're so welcome. But it's important to understand all of that, because it can affect your mental health.
Man, we need to have I'm gonna just put this out here in the universe, and maybe God will just deliver like he's done before every time. And I was telling my husband, I'm like, I really love live events. Everybody know that about me. I love parties. I may not like to put it together at this point with these locations, but I love parties and learning events. And one of the things that like you're making me want to do so bad, so my team gonna have to put me on a leash, boy.
Well, hold on, I know you're gonna say what I'm feeling, but go ahead.
I want to do. So in 2019, I did a self-care branded retreat for therapists. So that's when I learned how to do events. Okay. And I did an Airbnb in Hollywood. We ended up getting 3 therapists because a whole lot went wrong with these freaking Airbnbs and stuff. And so we end up like just getting 3 therapists in a room with like an assistant and a photographer, like 2 girls in my church. And we had a Black yoga instructor come. We went off site and we went and did an escape room. So it was interesting. I'm like, next time we doing the escape room on the first day, because we saw that they got way more comfortable because we put them in a room together. And then me and my team went into a room together. Okay. And then we did a section on branding. Because it was intimate, we were a little bit more flexible with funding. So we were able to pull in one of my homeboys that's a photographer. He came and did a photo shoot. And, it was just like very fun. And then a girl from church, good, right? A girl from my church, another girl came and did their makeup.
Oh, nice.
But it just made them feel so good. And then, I also knew of a person who did like house calls for massages. He was a guy I grew up with, and he had got a massage therapist thing. And so he gave all the women like a 30-minute free massage or whatever. And so when they left, they were just like, we got to do this again. And then 2020 happened. So clearly that did not happen. But I had planned on it happening in May of 2020. It was literally planned for. Somebody was about to buy a ticket, and then the next week we shut down. And I was like, oh, look at my admin talking about she love events too. Well, we need to figure out how to put on maybe just a smaller one, because we be trying to put on proms, but we need to.
I love live. That's why I felt the glamping retreat was so much fun for me.
That is so fire.
Because it was our glamping retreat was so much fun because it's a live event. You know, you're connecting with people. It was a weekend, and I love I love the live piece. And I was like, this is fun. I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have to come in here and talk about this deficiencies and all.
Yes.
This is great. I'm like, look, I'm about to put it literally in my journal. It's been on my to-do list, but I need to do it. But at this point, I ain't giving no medical advice for anyone who's watching, right? Let me just get that little disclaimer. But I want to find a holistic doctor that can actually not just take the blood work, because I can go to my PCP and get the blood work, but I actually want somebody to do like a post-assessment, like sit me down, explain to me what every score means versus just only calling me if something is wrong.
Absolutely.
And then tell me what is the best course of action. How is that going to impact my mood, or how has it been? How has it or will it impact my fertility? All those things are important, but a medical provider may, y'all, only just send it to you in the app on your phone, and they say nothing is wrong or you're within the normal range. And I'm like, I'm not in the normal range though, because my mood is off. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, something is wrong.
And there's tests. There's different tests, because again, through the trainings I've learned, there are different tests. Unfortunately, insurances won't pay for them. That will give you all of that you just asked for. Very thorough understanding of your numbers, and like you said, there are certain ranges that appear normal, but they're not the optimal level. And most people don't know that. And they can give you a lot. It can whittle it down to what's actually in the cell. Like you get those they're pricey, not too bad, but there are a lot of labs that can offer that. And then, like you said, sitting down with someone who can give you a much thorough understanding of your blood work. Because even a little that I know, there are times people have said to me, I said, what range was that? And they were like, yeah. I said, ideally, and I know this from the doctor I've learned it from. I was like, talk to your doctor, because that should be a little bit higher, And so no, it's what you're saying is really where we need to move towards to really give people a much better assessment of their health.
You know what? I know my team is watching. Can we look like we're in a team meeting? Can you write that down? Can we find a holistic doctor that can come in and talk about how, I'm going to just say even basic vitamin deficiencies, because let's just start simple. How vitamin deficiency and hydration and moving your body can impact not just your well-being, but also how you show up in the workspace, how you show up in your business. Because some people are saying they can't focus. Well, you sit here referring clients to a doctor, but you ain't went to one. Like, hello. Like, so we need to find that person.
Get a naturopathic doctor. You can get a naturopathic doctor, ND, a naturopath. They've gone to medical school. It's just that they generally have or functional medicine doctor. They have a lot more training in nutrition. The standard, no shade to the doctors, this is the system. Medical schools just give really bare minimum nutritional education, and this is very well known. Even Harvard did a report on the problem of that. But a functional medicine doctor, they have gotten more extensive training, and a naturopathic doctor, ND, they get a lot more training in nutrition, not mental health, but just nutrition in general. So you can choose from those groups, and they can definitely give a lot more thorough.
I'm about to do all this, and I'm going to do the body scan. I saw a body scan package. They were like, you could do 1 or you can do 3 because we can measure your progress. I said, sign me up for the 3. Tell me what's going on with my body that I can't see.
All of that matters. I ask clients if they have bowel movements, regular bowel movements. And I say, I know you don't think this is therapy, but you get regular bowel movements. And sometimes they're like, what in shape? No, I haven't in 3 days. That's not good.
Right. Clear and free, people. All right, look, let's wrap up because I'm about to get we talking on the phone. I hope everybody see my real personality, because sometimes when I be so passionate about business, they be like, damn, did she laugh? And I'm like, I do, I promise you. That's all I do is laugh.
Yes, you do. I can tell them you laugh. Clear and free, you do laugh.
I got a tear. All right, y'all. So make sure that let me take this down so they can make sure they get your name. So your Instagram handle is your name?
Is my name. Yes.
Okay. So we'll make sure to link that up in all the show notes and go back in and do that. If anyone, this is your first time tuning in to our YouTube channel, remember we have a whole lineup for the month of May. I will be also live streaming the third week of May on the 20th. We are doing the private practice boot camp. So we're going to bring all of these conversations together, but more so talk about how you can show up as the best version of you to either grow from scratch or rebuild a profitable private practice. We have a lot going on. And I do want to say, if anybody is in the DC area, and y'all are going to the Boris L. Henson Foundation, we have not been in person since 2019, okay? Or 2019, because Avery was one. And we are finally going to get back in person. And so I've been invited out to do something special with therapists out there as well. So I'll be in DC, and that's why I'm going to skip over to go see Miss Sonya, on another day, because I'd like to double dip my trips. And so if you are in the DC area, make sure that you check out the Boris L. Henson Foundation. Can We Talk? It is a very great place for especially Black therapists to go and see other Black therapists in person and have enriching conversations on mental health. And all of this stuff is going down in the month of May. All right. So I thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I will see y'all next week for the next live interview. All right. Bye. Fire me up. You just finished another epic episode of the Abundant Creator Podcast. Now, I would love to connect with you, so be sure to head down to the show notes for any additional abundant resources. And if you are looking for a new tribe of abundant creators like yourself, connect with me on Instagram at Dr. TK Psych or YouTube at Dr. TK. Until the next episode, create and live abundantly.